All right, welcome in everybody to this week's episode of Wide Eye Sports. We have a very special, spooky episode for you guys today. You got Brenner on the mic. We got Riley joining us, as well as Spoon, as is every week. And we finally have got Dalton back on the show after several weeks of technical difficulty. We have them back. So everybody give Dalton a little round of applause there for finally making it back to the show with us. They wanted to show off their costumes a little bit. Wanted to get in the Halloween spirit this week. A little Scream, had a little Michael Myers.
That was so funny. That was perfect. Right before we started, I literally was like, "I'm surprised that nobody dressed up." And then 5 seconds
Definitely messed
later,
up my hair.
Spoon comes in with the mask on.
It was so perfect.
Amazing
Like, I
timing.
can't believe nobody dressed up. I was like, yeah, no, it's a Memorial Day because that. And then Spoon pops in with a Michael Myers mask. We're like, what a perfect little day.
Perfect.
All right, with that, we'll just jump right into things here. I'm going to jump into the weeklies. Every week we do a MVP of the week, a biggest L of the week, and our game of the week for the next week. So with that, I'm going to start and slide it over to Dalton for his MVP.
One more time, what'd you say?
MVP, go.
MVP, I had Joe Burrow.
Joey B.
Damn,
Joe Burrow was my MVP, especially, and I was telling Riley and Brenner with this before the podcast, because you guys thought all the Bengals were going to lose against the 49ers, that they were, the Niners were going to be pissed and just fucking ball out on the Bengals. And Joey B has really surprised me this season. I know Brenner kind of expected this because they've kind of lost their first few games and then they start off a little bit slow and then come in hot. But he definitely surprised me. He was my MVP.
Yeah, no, I definitely I thought he'd be this hot all year, not just for part of it. So, I mean, that's my bad. But Riley, you got an MVP for us?
Yeah, so my biggest winner for the week was the Cincinnati Bengals, not just Joe Burrow. They really needed this win to keep their playoff hopes alive, and it was really a statement win the way that offense was marching up and down the field on before 3 weeks ago what was the best defense in the NFL.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree completely. It shocked the shit out of me, that's for sure. I was full on expecting Cincinnati to lose that game, and I was at the Packers-Vikings game, and I was like, what is going on? Like,
touchdown victory
No,
over the Niners in San Francisco. That's crazy.
Yeah, watching it on TV, the offense did not have a problem moving.
Yeah,
the ball.
I watched the
they
highlights,
played
and I was
really
like, whoa. I'm going to go with my MVP. It's a little different than y'all. Apparently, everybody just took Joe Burrow and the Bengals were like, MVP. I'm going to go a little bit different direction. My MVP for this past week is the Seattle Seahawks. They went out at home against the best defense in the NFL. And while it took a little bit of luck with a little, header off Jamal Adams, they won that game. They won it in regulation at home in front of their fans. And then they go out and trade for, in my opinion, a top 5 defensive tackle in the NFL. So not only did you just beat a great football team, you then turn around and get even better. Seattle Seahawks, MVP for me. Spoon, you said you had Joey B?
I did have Joey B, but I had one more too. So
right.
I called it. I don't remember if it was the last show or the show before. I said, hey, Ryan Tannehill needs to go. They need to give Malik Willis or Will Levis a shot. And look at what happens. They gave Will Levis a shot, and he threw for 238 yards and 4 TDs, dude. That is crazy.
I almost picked him.
Yeah, he's it was between him and Burrow for me, so I had to choose the other one. So
yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and jump in and say it was his first game. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. All right,
hey, that's still a decent Falcons team.
It took Spoon all of 30 seconds into that game to text me, hey, remember what I said about Will Levis?
Yep,
remember what I said? That's fucking right. And I was like, whoa, this is the first game. Now, he did play amazing, but game 1, we'll see if he can repeat. I'm not saying he's garbage. I'm just saying I didn't have high hopes for him. and he's proved me wrong so far. So we'll see how it goes. I'll get it started with the L of the week, and my loss of the week is me, because I got to go all the way to the Green Bay and watch my Minnesota Vikings put the whoop on my least favorite team in the NFL. And what happened?
Yeah.
Kirk Chains done for the
Yep.
season. Rest in peace, Kirk.
It's rough,
R.I.P.
man.
I'm gonna end the obituary there and let Riley take over.
Yeah, so my biggest loser was the Minnesota Vikings as well. As soon as you get to that 7th seed and it looks like the team is taking a turn, you lose your starting quarterback. But Brenner, I wanted your thoughts on a couple things. Do you think the Vikings should have sold at the trade deadline?
You know, it's hard to say like, yeah, go for it, just sell everybody, because it's rough. But at that same time, how do you possibly say, yeah, we should keep everybody and add a quarterback that's just, a mid quarterback at best, when you have a guy like Danielle Hunter who's leading the league in sacks? He's 30 years old. His value will never get higher after this point. That isn't in your plans for the future, and you don't use that resource and sell him. Like, I love Danielle. I love that he's a Viking. I would love for him to retire a Viking. But when you got Montez Sweat going for a 2nd round pick, what is the leading sack leader in the NFL going to get you? Like, and he's not signed after this year. So, like, how do we? I don't know how you pass up the opportunity.
So my second question is, with this torn Achilles, is it almost guaranteed that Kirk is out of Minnesota next year?
Initially, that's what I thought. I looked at it, but I went, well, that was the end of the Kirk Chains era. I got to be at Kirk Cousins' last NFL game as a Viking, like, peace, like, that's it. But like, the more you think about it, Kirk's going into free agency next year. He's 35, going on 36. There's not a whole lot of room there for another team to jump in. Yeah, we'll pay you $30 million to play for us. So potentially, Kirk's number one thing is family. So outside of us and the Atlanta Falcons, where his wife is from, I don't see that family wanting to move anywhere. So potentially we could get Kirk Cousins on a cheaper deal.
So, and my final question, right? So say Jordan Addison plays the rest of the season and balls out, and you guys decide to move on from Kirk Cousins. Would the Vikings trade JJ to move up and get a quarterback in the draft? Now,
Okay.
before you call me crazy, keep in mind they already traded a superstar wide receiver in Stephon Diggs a few years ago.
Yeah.
Do
No,
you think that's on the table?
The Wilfs did it with Randy. The Wilfs did it with Percy. The Wilfs did it with Stephon Diggs. Now, in all 3 other scenarios, the receiver wanted out. They were disgruntled. They were upset. They did not want to be there anymore. I don't see them moving on from JJ unless the one way it would happen is if they can't come to a contract agreement and JJ gets pissed. And they go, nope. Then, without a doubt, I could absolutely see them trading JJ and moving up for a quarterback, especially with TJ Hawkinson under contract for a few years and then Addison under contract for the next 4 years. That is a possibility, but right now it's a very infinitesimal possibility.
I got you.
All right. Dalt?
The biggest L. We're doing L's, right?
Yeah, we're doing losers.
Biggest
L's.
L.
49ers. 3 losses in a row, man. Everybody was super high on them after that Dallas win. They were just saying everybody was super high on them, how great they were. And then look what happened. 3 very unexpected losses in a row. If you would go back to every one of these games, everyone's like 49ers. Granted, they do have some injuries, but I just think that shows how mortal of a team they are, and how if they're not perfect, then they are going to fall.
Yeah, absolutely. Spoon, you got a biggest L?
Yeah, my biggest L this week is the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay.
Uh,
I don't.
Matt Nagy, man, ruining Patrick Mahomes.
Matt
I know.
Nagy, man. Matt Nagy.
So I know we
man.
always talk every week. It's always division games are weird, but
Yeah.
don't forget that this Broncos team gave up 70 points to the Dolphins. Okay, and you're telling me the Chiefs can only put up 9 against them?
Yeah.
Like with this offense, come on, dude. And Pat Mahomes, he's got to play a lot better, throwing for 0
Well,
touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
He
like-
had the flu. It was his flu game.
He also got sacked by one of his own players.
This is true. This is true.
It was just not a good game for the Chiefs at all.
It wasn't.
Like,
There was
all around.
nothing positive. Taylor Swift didn't show up. I mean,
That's probably yeah.
if you don't have T Swift on the sideline, what do you have?
So
But all right, with that, we're gonna move on to games of the week. I will let Dalton lead us off.
My game of the week. This is strictly on a fan base. Cowboys Eagles. I have been hyped for this game. I was worried that Jalen wasn't going to make it. That he's been a little rocky with his injury. But it looks like he's going to make it through, and they're going to play. This will be the first time that that Dak and Jalen have gone head to head in a long time. I think it was 2021 the last time they played. But first time they played last year, Dak was out, and then Cooper Rush lost against Jalen Hurts, and then Jalen Hurts was out, and Dak got to play. So this one's just going to be a really good game, I think. Dak's got a lot to prove, and Jalen's still he's got that bar that's really set high that he's got to live up to. So
Yeah. No, for sure. I think everybody expects that game to be a big game this weekend. Riley?
So my game of the week is Bills Bengals, and this is really a must-win for both teams.
All right,
Now-
sidebar. Riley needs a Bills jersey. We need to get Riley a Bills jersey.
I
Hey,
have a
just-
Bills jersey if you want it, man. It's a Diggs
Oh,
jersey.
kidding, Riley. Go for it.
Hey,
Keep
I
going.
just call it how I see it. But for the Bills, Miami has a very losable game against what will be an angry Chiefs team. And they have the tiebreaker with Miami. So they have the opportunity to be first in their division.
Yeah.
And for the Bengals, they're really trying to keep their playoff hopes alive, and they need to get this win against Buffalo. But I think it's going to end up being a great game.
I believe so as well. My game of the week, you mentioned it there for a second, is Miami versus Kansas City. I think this is a pretty simple one. I mean, you got Patrick Mahomes going against the best offense in football, and my personal, outside of Minnesota, favorite head coach in the NFL, Mike McDaniel. That dude is a baller. That dude, I love him. I just think traveling overseas, teams tend to not play as well. And so I think between the two teams, if one team isn't going to play as well, or if both teams aren't going to play as well even, I think that gives Miami a huge edge in that matchup, because I think they are just raw talent-wise, I think they're leaps and bounds ahead of the other team. Now, obviously, Andy Reid and coaching makes up for a lot of that, but I just think as far as physical talent, speed, Miami's got such a good offense that, I mean, I think Tyreek's going to have a little chip this week. It's going to be special to watch. Spoon?
So yeah, all 3 of those games are going to be must watch. Obviously, I think there's a 4th game though to keep an eye on, and I'm going to go Seahawks Ravens.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a really good game to watch.
That was my other game.
Yep. So obviously I had Cowboys Eagles up there. I had Bills Bengals up there. I had Chiefs Dolphins. There's just a lot of really good games this week. So I did not want the Seahawks and the Ravens game to be left out.
I had all 4 of those games written down on my paper here. I had all 4 of those games. I knew these are like 4 huge games, and they all happen to be this week.
One of the reasons why I really want to keep an eye on this one is because the Seahawks are quietly sitting on top of the NFC West right now.
Yep.
Obviously they just need to keep the ball rolling, keep getting wins, and possibly, I mean, even if they lose to the Niners again, I mean, it doesn't matter. They're as long as they keep winning, they'll be on top. I really want to see how Kenneth Walker does against this defense, though. I think he's been playing excellent football all year, averaging 4.4 yards a carry. And this Ravens defense is, I mean, just middle of the pack when it comes to rushing yards. I mean, they're great when it comes to passing yards allowed, but when it comes to rushing yards, they're kind of middle of the pack. So I'm curious to see if Kenneth Walker can have a big game this week.
Yeah, you couldn't have said it any better, man. I think that Baltimore team is looking real hot right now.
They are too.
They're playing great against bad teams, and they're playing great against good teams. And they are steamrolling, and Seattle is quietly steamrolling. Like, they are just chugging along. They're just a little choo-choo train, just chug, and nothing's stopping them. And this is going to be a great clash this weekend. With that, it is the halfway point of the NFL season. We just wrapped up week 8. Like, how crazy is that? Like, we're week 8. Football's halfway done. With that, we're going to go over some midway point, our MVPs, our rookie of the years, our offensive player of the years, our surprises. We're just going to hit some tidbits, and then later on in the show, we're going to hit you with all the latest news from the trade deadline that happened earlier today. So with that, we're going to get underway. I'm going to hit you with my MVP at the midway point of the season, and this isn't going to come as a huge shocker. Tua Tagovailoa. Raise your hand if you have Tua as your MVP. Shocker.
Yeah.
I wonder who Riley's MVP was. Like I said, we should get him a jersey. He is first in yards per game, touchdowns, passer rating. He only has 5 interceptions, and he's throwing over 70% completion percentage. And there's a few quarterbacks who are this year, but normally that is
7 interceptions.
He has 7?
Yeah.
Oh, I wrote down 5. My bad. Thank you for the correction, sir. Appreciate that.
I was just looking at it because I had a dumb moment. I was gonna pick Dak Prescott, and then I looked at the stats and I was like, yeah, no fucking way.
Yeah, no fucking way.
I'm not that big a fan.
Better luck next year, bud.
Yeah.
But 7 interceptions, 70% completion percentage. I mean, he has the best offense in the NFL around him. Like, I'm sure we can all agree on that. But as far as MVPs go, it doesn't matter who you have around you. Tom Brady won an MVP throwing to Wes Welker and Randy Moss. Like, what you do matters, and your team winning matters. Right now, they're first in their division. They're first in offensive categories. They're first statistically. He is MVP. That's my MVP. And then my offensive player of the year, Tyreek Hill. I mean, it's kind of fitting. I mean, the dude's on pace for, let's see here, where'd I put it? 2,155 yards on 130 receptions on 16 touchdowns. Like, first in plays of over 40 yards, first in first downs gained, first in yards a catch per reception, and he's only third in targets. So it's not like he's just getting a Michael Thomas out here and getting 180 targets a season. Like, the dude is just producing. And then my defensive player of the year. This is going to come at, no surprise here. I'm going to pick Danielle Hunter. The dude is balling. He, in my opinion, should also be comeback player of the year. Now, I think, Tua and DeMar Hamlin, it'll come down to those two. But Danielle has 10 sacks, leads the league, 37 total tackles, 12 TFLs, and 9 quarterback hits. The TFLs and QB hits are both number 1 in the NFL. He's played 86% of snaps as a D lineman, which is huge in today's NFL. Most D lines, sub in and out a lot. And then he's number 1 in total tackles among the top 10 sack leaders. And then for him to move to second in total tackles, you have to go all the way down to 13th on the list. And for him to move to third in total tackles, you have to go all the way down to anybody with over 3.5 sacks on the season. So, and he's at 10 sacks. So, I mean, this dude is just balling out in every way. So, that's my defensive player of the year. And then just a quick tidbit with rookies. I'm going to give my defensive rookie of the year to Devin Witherspoon. I think there's not a whole lot statistically you can say about the guy other than a couple weeks. But if you put on the tape, that dude is balling out. I think he is the class of this rookie class. Like, he is amazing. And then the offensive rookie of the year, it came down to either Puka Nacua or Jordan Addison for me. And I kept it in-house. I went Jordan Addison. Puka has quite a few more yards and quite a few more receptions, but Jordan Addison's had to play behind the best receiver in football. And whenever he got his chance, when JJ out, he showed up, and he showed up big. Okay. This dude has 7 touchdowns on the season, second in the league to only Tyreek Hill. I think he's balling, and that would be my midway point seasonal predictions. Who wants to go next?
I'll do it.
All right, Riley, go for it.
You wanted to call me out on my MVP pick?
Yeah, I wonder who it's going to be.
Without a doubt.
I bet it's
Josh
a D end, isn't it? It's a
Yeah.
D end. I knew it. Josh Allen. Josh Allen, the defensive end.
So Brenner likes to sit up here and talk about quarterbacking strictly as a passer. But I like to look at quarterbacking in totality, right?
As a Bears fan, naturally would.
Hey. So
Lamar
Brenner is
Jackson.
right. Tua has 100 more total yards than Josh Allen. But Brenner also talked about how crazy Tua's 70.4% completion percentage is, while Josh Allen is sitting at 71.7%.
I did mention that multiple dudes do have over 70%. That is insane.
Tua has 18 passing touchdowns and 7 interceptions. What he did not mention was his 7 fumbles, which gives him 18 touchdowns to 14 turnovers. When you add in Josh Allen's rushing touchdowns, he has 22 touchdowns to 11 turnovers, 3 fumbles.
Damn.
So he has a higher completion percentage. He is about to sit atop of the division after this week, and he has less turnovers. Like I've said from the beginning, am going with Josh Allen as my MVP. Now, for Offensive Player of the Year, I'm going Christian McCaffrey. He's 1 and 2 in almost every running back stat and has 13 total touchdowns. That's more than anyone in the league. But I think he's 100 or so yards behind Tyreek Hill in total yards.
Yeah.
But I could very easily see Miami hitting a slump and Christian McCaffrey getting more yards than Tyreek Hill.
I mean, that touchdown streak is what's up to 17 consecutive games with a touchdown?
Yes, he is tied for the NFL record.
That is
which
insane.
Set in like the 50s or something nuts.
Yeah.
Damn.
And they have a bye this week, correct? Does anybody know? They do have a
49ers.
bye. Yeah, I thought they had a bye.
My Defensive Player of the Year is Daniil Hunter for all the reasons Brenner said. The guy is absolutely dominating. Rookie of the Year, I got CJ Stroud. He's sitting at 13th in the league in passing yards as a rookie. 9 touchdowns, 1 pick. You'd like to see his percentage or his completion percentage come up. It's at a 60.3, which is 29th in the NFL. But when you look at the rest of his statistics as a rookie, he is a top 15 quarterback in the NFL right now.
Yep.
And then Defensive Player of the Year, I'm going to do a little bit of a homer take. I'm going to say Tyreek Stevenson.
We just can't get away from homer takes. We just can't do it.
Someone no one's ever heard of but me, right?
Right,
So,
exactly.
In
of homer take.
In his last 4 games, he's been targeted 32 times and has allowed 18 catches. That's a 56% completion percentage. And he has given up 154 yards. Now, the Bears corners don't switch sides. He is the left corner. So a lot of times offenses are going to put their number 1 wide receiver on him because of Jalen Johnson on the other side. So in these last 4 games, he's gone up against Devontae Adams, Jordan Addison, Terry McLaurin, and Keenan Allen. And those are the stats he's led up against those guys. I think he's going to finish the season strong. And outside of one bad game covering Mike Evans, he is only allowed 84 yards in a game.
I mean, we'll see what happens when he plays against JJ. So we'll save that. We'll save that.
All right.
Mark that down. Oh, you got some midway predictions?
Yeah, I'm just gonna throw through mine because you already touched on them quite a bit.
Okay.
MVP Tua, don't have much more to say about that guy. Just balling out, keeping him and Tyreek Hill. He's my offensive player of the year. Just keeping the Dolphins in, man. I feel like they were kind of a surprise team for a lot of people. When for where they ended, and then there was a lot of expectations on them, and they've just kind of kept up with it all.
They've delivered.
Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett, and
That's
it pains me to say, I wish I could be saying Micah Parsons again, but Myles Garrett is just a freak show of a person. He terrifies me as a man, and I cannot even fathom having to look at him on the other side of the ball.
Bro out of a 3-point stance hopped over another human being.
Yeah.
And blocked a field goal. Like he's like 250, 260 pounds.
Yeah.
And just 3-point frog jumped over another human. Like that's insane. And then blocked a field goal. Like dude's an athletic freak.
Special mention, Deron Bland of the Cowboys. Here's my homer take. Trayvon got hurt, and everybody was freaking out and saying, there goes the defense. This is the Cowboys' Achilles. This is where they're going to lose. And Deron Bland came in and is absolutely showing up. He's had 3 pick sixes.
Yep.
In his first 16 games, he's got 8 interceptions right now. And he really just kind of filled that role. I feel like to a lot of people's surprise.
Yep.
Offensive Rookie of the Year, Puka Nacua. Gotta love it, man.
Fair.
It's just another instance, just like I was saying with Trayvon and Duran. Cooper got injured, and then everybody, nobody was really expecting a rookie to step up and produce that way.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really, really impressive.
Same.
And then Rookie of the Year, I got Jalen Carter, the defensive tackle for the Eagles. He is the favorite right now. If you're looking, if you're betting on that. So
no, he has been an absolute unit in their interior defensive, and they had a good defensive line to start with, but he's been a fucking monster.
I'm absolutely going to be watching him against our O line next week in that game.
Yeah,
so
it's going to be a great matchup.
And then, do we do surprises, or are we doing that?
Here after just a minute.
All right, that's all I got.
Go for Spoon.
All right. So MVP, it's Tua. It's pretty self-explanatory. My defensive player of the year, I actually do have Myles Garrett as well.
Okay.
I just think when he anchors that defense, so they've been playing so well, and
Agreed.
It's tough to go against that. I agree though. Hunter's been playing really well.
Yeah, but Myles Garrett's the best defensive player on the best defense, so I totally see a valid argument.
It's gonna. I see a battle between them two for sure. It's a valid argument. Offensive Rookie of the Year, I know that Riley said C.J. Stroud is sitting at number 13 in passing yards, but Puka Nacua is sitting at 3rd in receiving yards. So I'm going with Puka.
Yep, that's fair. Hold on, we lost you for a second. We lost you for a second.
I cut out. Yeah. Defensive Rookie of the Year, yes, Jalen Carter is the favorite right now, but Devon Witherspoon is my favorite. He has 31 tackles to Jalen Carter's 13 tackles. He is 1.5 sacks behind him, and he is a corner. He also has an interception and a touchdown. So it's tough to argue those stats and say that Jalen Carter is the favorite. I think Devon Witherspoon is by far the favorite.
How many tackles did you say he had?
Devon Witherspoon has 31 to Jalen Carter's 13.
Tyreek Stevenson has 49. They're 3rd on the team as an outside corner, not a slot guy, an outside corner. 49 tackles.
That's pretty crazy.
That is crazy.
That's pretty fucking crazy. I mean, Daniil Hunter has 37.
Now
Yes, I
we're
had
all
to.
just throwing it out.
Now we're
there.
just throwing tackle numbers out there. All right. Well, with that, I'm gonna let Dalton. I just told the guys pick a surprise, pick something you want to talk about for the midway point closing thoughts. Dalton, go ahead and fire it off.
My biggest surprise, the kicker for the Dallas Cowboys, Brandon Aubrey. That was the only thing that I was worried about coming into the season that we were so unsure about. But this rookie from Notre Dame has made 18 consecutive field goals as like coming in as a starter, and he's matched the record for that, which I think he's going to surpass. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Knock on wood. Don't want to jinx him. But yeah, he was, like I said, literally the only position that I was worried about. And he started, he missed an extra point, and then after that, he's just been lights out.
Yeah, Riley, you got a surprise for us?
Yeah, so my biggest surprise right now is this little midseason meltdown of the 49ers.
Fair.
3 straight losses, dropping them from the 1 seed in the NFC down to the 6th. Now, didn't we say they have a bye week this week?
Yep, they have a bye week.
So they have a chance to compose themselves and turn things around. But after the way they looked the first 5 games of the season, I would not have guessed that they would have gone on to lose 3 straight.
You know who they play whenever they come out of their bye week? The Jags.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So
They have Jags, then Cowboys.
5 wins in a row. Jags have 5 wins in a row, and then the 49ers have 3 losses. So let's see what happens with that.
So they could end up
streak.
They could
Coming
end
at you
up,
week 10.
They could come up 5-5 after the next 3 weeks. I
Yeah.
mean, that's nuts.
That is nuts. My biggest surprise this season is, I mentioned them a little earlier, the Seattle Seahawks. When I started this season, me and Spoon did a little, record prediction for the whole NFL, and he was a little higher on the Seahawks than I was. I had him, just under 500, I think, and they have superseded all my expectations. I live in Seattle. I feel like I have a pretty good gauge on what the fans of the Seahawks are thinking, and I don't think anybody expected them to outplay the Niners through the midway point of the season. I think they have played awesome. I think they have shown up every week. They've been consistent. They have run the ball. They have thrown the ball. They've played good defense when they need to, and they have very much surprised me. I looked at all the standings, and the number one team that stuck out to me was the Seahawks sitting on the top of their division. Like, that was truly, like, I would never have guessed that. So, Spoon, you got a surprise?
Well, I have a statement that I'd like to say.
Yeah, go for it.
We are reaching the halfway point, and I know it just happened this week, but congratulations to every NFL team for getting a win at the halfway point. That's a shout out to the Panthers for finally winning a game last week.
Yeah.
Bryce Young.
Proving us
But no-
the number 1 pick. The Cardinals got the number 1
I know.
pick.
It's kind of a letdown. Like, oh, do you want to win? Do you not want to win? But hey, man, they won a game. At least it was home too, so give the fans something to cheer about. All right. I think my biggest surprise though. Oh, I just had. Dang it! I think the Browns. Honestly,
That's fair.
I didn't have them because as of right now they're in the wild card. If it ended today, I know we're halfway through the season, but I didn't have them even coming close. I had them at the bottom of the division. I had the Bengals above them. I had the Ravens above them. I had the Steelers above them. But here they are, like, they're holding their own. So props to them for sure.
For sure. Does anybody have anything else they want to say about mid-season recap, about anything they're surprised about, any tidbits? Once, twice, 3 times, sold to the highest bidder. We're going to move on to Spoon's segment of the week. Spoon, you had a little segment planned for us?
Yes, I do.
Let's go. What do we got?
Hold on. Let me share it real quick.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to take a second while he's pulling that up once again to say thank you to all the lovely and wonderful fans that join us each and every week. We appreciate you. We love you. We wouldn't be here without you. So thank you. Make sure to like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Hit the noti bell even.
All right, there it is, man. So here's my player comparison.
Oh, oof. I'm gonna go with on the.
Well, first of all, say it for the people at home.
Yeah, sorry. On the left, we have 577 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, 33 receptions, and 48 targets. And on the right, we have 539 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, 47 receptions, and 78 targets.
Are they both wide receivers?
Yes, they are actually both wide receivers. I'm not throwing a tight end in there or a running back.
See, I wanted to say the one on the left, but then the touchdowns threw me off. It's only 3 touchdowns. Is the one on the left Chris Godwin?
No.
Damn.
Are any of them CD Lamb?
No.
Yeah, I think so.
No, I think he has more than 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
One of them is a very big name, and the other one is not a really big name.
See, the first name to pop into my mind was Stephon Diggs, but Stephon Diggs has more than 3 touchdowns. So it can't be Diggsy.
It's not Odell.
Puka, AJ, all those guys have more receiving yards.
Is one of them Devontae Smith?
Devonta Smith? No.
Is the one on the left Jalen Waddle?
No. You're
Right,
close,
either-
though. That's in the average, or that's around where he's at.
Yeah. I knew he was right in there somewhere. I'm trying to think about the touchdowns to the receptions. Oh God.
78 targets is a lot of targets.
Is
I
the one on the right?
I know the one on the right. I know who the one on the right is. Devontae Adams.
Yep.
Oh,
That
damn.
is the one on the right.
Is DeAndre Hopkins one of them?
No.
Damn.
I told you,
All
the
right,
other
so we
one's
got-
not a big name.
Okay, so the other one's not a big name. So we're talking like no. We're talking like
Puka Nacua?
No.
No. He's got way more yards. Jacob
Darnell Mooney.
Nope.
Oh, I was like,
Y'all ready for it?
Yeah.
yeah, hit us.
All right. So, hold on. Let me pull this back up. It is Nico Collins.
Nico Collins.
Fuck is that?
Damn. I wouldn't
So
have got it.
So I wanted to lead this into just a little quick segment because I don't know if you were going to bring it up later or not. Devontae Adams, who is a top wide receiver, like one of the best, top 5 easily in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's getting the targets. He's just, and I feel like it's because they're throwing they're forcing the ball to him a lot, but he's just, man, I don't know how to describe it. Do you think that the Raiders should trade him though?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I actually have more on that later. I'm going to
Okay.
go ahead and say they should have. They can no longer do it because the trade deadline is passed.
Well, that's what I meant. Should they have let him go?
Yes, I think they should have traded him because Jimmy G is, in my opinion, a cooked goose and doesn't have it anymore. So,
Not that
I mean,
bad.
there was the play last night where Devontae Adams made a double move and was streaking down the left sideline, completely wide open. Could not get more wide open if he tried. And Jimmy Garoppolo overthrew him by like 10 yards.
And I want to add on to that. I would like to know how many of these 78 targets were actually catchable balls, and
That
Yeah.
too.
in the vicinity he threw it somewhere around him, but he
Yeah.
had no chance of getting it.
Right.
Shout out to Nico Collins, though, balling. I mean, that's
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
good. I would have
So-
thought Nico had more touchdowns, though, than he did. So,
But he's killing it. So
Yeah,
wanna
no,
put
I
that out.
agree.
Real quick though, now let's jump into the segment.
okay. You want to? I'll add it back.
All right, so we are at the halfway point. I think it's time to start talking about playoff picture.
The wild card. Yeah,
The
let's
Wild
see it.
card.
Let's see what we got.
So right now, these are the first 3 in for the
Okay.
AFC and the NFC,
All right.
and then these are the first 3 out for the AFC and the NFC.
Okay.
So real quick, I just wanted to give my little tidbit. This obviously is not how it's going to end. I don't see
Yeah.
this at all. I don't see San Francisco finishing at 6. I do think that they will finish on top of that division. It just give them a couple weeks to get back on track, and they'll finish strong.
Okay.
The Vikings are sitting at 7 right now. It's a tough break, and I had them making the last week. I even said it too. They were my playoff team that I thought was going to sneak into the wild card. Now I don't think so. I believe that it's either going to be New Orleans or Tampa Bay, honestly. I think New Orleans will probably take that top spot in their division, and I think the Falcons will probably drop down to a wild card team.
And now that you've got this up, I'd like to throw something out there. There's a sneaky good game of the week that is Tampa Bay Houston. Both teams fighting to get in, and it could be a good game to watch out for.
Another sneaky game of the week is Tennessee and Pittsburgh, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think if Tennessee gets on the right track, Tennessee could sneak in right here as a wild card team.
We just got lots of good football coming up.
Yeah, this weekend's a lot of good games. I also do for the AFC. I do not have Pittsburgh finishing there. I know I said I was high on them last week. They're starting to crumble a little bit. So I think that Cincinnati is getting on track. They just had a big win. I think Cincinnati is probably going to sneak in there as a wild card team.
I'm gonna make the proclamation now. Okay, the Vikings are gonna come out. We're gonna beat Atlanta. Atlanta just lost one of their D tackles this past week to an ACL tear. We're gonna go out. We're gonna beat Atlanta, and then I don't know what Josh Dobbs is gonna be yet. I don't know if he's gonna be good. I don't know if he's gonna be terrible. I don't know, but we're gonna beat Atlanta. We're gonna be 5-4 after starting 0-3. And Kevin O'Connell is going to rally this team. I think the defense is playing good. I think we can get, with the weapons we have, I think we'll be okay. So we're going to find out. It's going to be hard for me to say we're making the playoffs because it's about a 2% chance right now that we pull off a playoff spot. So Josh Dobbs would have to play out of his mind, which he has so far. But we will see. I'm not overly confident in the Vikings making the playoffs. Obviously, Rip Kirko Chains. I love you, man. Get well soon. But unfortunately, reality is reality, and the Vikings are cursed, so that happened. With that, does anybody have any closing thoughts on anything before we move on to some free agency frenzy and rapid fire for the week? Nope. All right, cool. So I'm just going to go over the big blockbuster trades from the week, and then we'll talk about them a little bit. The Vikings obviously traded for Josh Dobbs. It was a 6th and a 7th round pick swap. So the Cardinals send a Josh Dobbs and a 7th. The Vikings send a 6th. The Bears got Montez Sweat for a 2nd. The 49ers get Chase Young for a 3rd. Mind-blowing that those were the opposite. Ezra Cleveland goes to the Jags for a 6th round pick. Leonard Williams to Seattle for a 2nd and a 5th. That's a big trade. Donovan Peoples-Jones gets sent to Detroit for a 6th. Rasul Douglas and a 5th go to Buffalo in exchange for a 3rd round pick, kind of bolstering their cornerback room. And then Kentavious Street and a 7th to Atlanta for a 6th round pick to help out Atlanta. There's nothing here that whoa, I can't believe that happened, other than Chase Young going for less than Montez Sweat. I know me and Riley have been battling over this one. Everything I've seen
that was blown up,
and everything I believe, Chase Young's a better football player. He's more talented. He's been hurt way more, so he doesn't have the numbers that Sweat has. But if I had to pick one, I'm picking Chase Young all day. I believe it was 32 games they've played together, or 34 games they've played together. Sweat has 16.5 sacks. In the 34 games they've played not together, Sweat has 7 sacks. His success was directly linked to Chase being on the field. So, the fact that one went for a 3rd and one went for a 2nd, maybe it's because Chase is injury prone, but Riley believes Montez Sweat's the better player.
What is the best ability in football?
Winning Super Bowls.
You know what I'm gonna say.
If you could just win Super Bowls instantly, that would be the best ability, honestly.
Anything
else is just wrong.
The best ability is availability, and Chase Young has played what did we say? 19 games in 3 years, 4 years. But you want to focus mainly on the pass rushing, but Montez Sweat is far better in the run defense. I want to say he's the top 5 graded run defensive end over the past 3 years.
Via Pro Football Focus or who?
Yeah, PFF.
Yeah.
And I think on the Bears, we have Yannick Ngakoue.
Ngakoue. Yannick Ngakoue.
He has never had a season where he is not finished with less than 8 sacks, and he has had 2 this year. And I think mainly a lot of that is because he's being double teamed for the first time. And hopefully with Montez Sweat there, he will be able to get a little more one-on-one work. And it will open up help the defensive line more than I think Chase Young will on an already stacked 49ers defense.
I mean, I don't know, dude. That Chase Young Bosa duo, that's going to be fucking scary on anything more than 3rd and 4. You get a 3rd and 5, and you're shitting yourself as a quarterback, in my opinion. Yeah, see? Dalton's screaming already. He's got to play it. Thank God the Vikings already played him. I mean, Jesus, I couldn't imagine having to play him now. That would suck. But I think everything else makes sense here. I mean, I don't really see much that was, like, crazy. Nothing.
I do want to point out that I am actually excited to see how Dobbs does with the Vikings.
Oh, I'm excited, I promise. Just nervous excited.
Because I know that, like, okay, Kirk Cousins is 2nd in the NFL in passing yards. That's a huge loss. And now you're picking up the quarterback who's sitting at 21st in passing yards. But I think Dobbs, where Kirk Cousins lacks is being a dual threat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dobbs is dual threat. Dobbs right now is sitting as the 3rd highest rushing quarterback in the NFL behind Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts. So I'm excited to see how he plays with the Vikings and see how they utilize his talents when it comes to his arm strength and, his running ability.
Yeah, and our current backup, Jaron Hall, he's also a very mobile kid. He went to BYU. He was Puka Nakua's quarterback in college. That's who was thrown to Puka in college was Jaron Hall, and he's also a very mobile guy, so I think it'll be kind of neat for him to get to sit behind and learn from Dobbs and maybe,
And Dobbs is obviously going to have more weapons to throw to than he had in Arizona.
He's just got more weapons. The Vikings have a top 10 offensive line right now. Our tackle duo is graded by Pro Football Focus as the best tackle duo in the NFL. So he's getting a better offensive line. He's getting way better receivers in every category.
Especially when Jefferson comes back.
Especially when JJ comes back. He's gonna have TJ, JJ, Jordan Addison, KJ Osborne, Cam Akers is playing well. The Vikings finally had a rushing touchdown. They were the last team to do it, but we did it. We did it at Lambeau Field. Cam Akers got us into the end zone on the ground. Up until that point, we had not had a rushing touchdown. Nice. So I'm stoked on it.
Speaking of on the ground, do you guys think the Jets should have traded Dalvin Cook?
Yes.
They're not using him, and he's obviously frustrated by that.
Yeah, maybe for depth, I like it because if Breece Hall does get hurt, which he's shown he can get hurt, like it would be nice to have a Dalvin Cook back there because I'm a firm believer that if a running back's going to get going, they need carries, they need momentum, they need lots of touches. They can't you don't just put a running back. I mean, what Miami's doing with their running backs for the first 4 weeks of the season, where they were going back and forth and each of them was just popping off left and right, was insane to me. So
shout out Jahmyr Gibbs too for the Lions.
Yeah. Gibbs went off last night.
Fucking A, he did.
But all right, we'll move on to rapid fire questions for the week. I only have a few of them. We're not going crazy here. So, Dalt, I'm going to start with you. Was it a mistake by Minnesota to trade for Josh Dobbs and try to salvage the season instead of just going full fire sale, trading Danielle Hunter, trading KJ Osborne, trading all their assets, and just trying to stockpile for the future? Was it a mistake?
I don't think so at all. I think like you were saying, Josh Dobbs is going to have a lot more at his feet going to Minnesota, and he's not a bad quarterback, man. He can really ball out, man. He went up against a very talented Dallas defense and beat us. Granted, that's their only win.
Yeah,
might have been a misnomer, but
it happened.
In all these losses that they're having, they're not terrible losses.
They literally lost to the Ravens, who are playing great right now by 1 touchdown.
Yeah, exactly.
They're there.
So I think this will be a good move for them, and I'm excited to see what he holds for the Vikings.
All right. Riley, should the Titans have moved either Derrick Henry or DeAndre Hopkins?
I'm going to say yes, And definitely Derrick Henry, I think they should have moved off of. Maybe not DeAndre Hopkins if you're going to leave is it Will Levis?
Yep.
If Will Levis is going to be the starter, you might as well give him someone to throw to while you're evaluating him.
But
fair. I don't think they're going to go very far in the playoffs, and I think they could have used the draft capital that they would have gotten from Derrick Henry.
All right, I just want to show of hands from everybody. I'll tell everybody on the Spotify what the results are. Raise your hand if DeAndre Hopkins should have been traded. Or not, sorry, I said DeAndre Hopkins. Devontae Adams. That's 4. That's 4 hands in the air for everybody listening at home. I think we're all good there. We talked about it earlier. I just wanted a quick show of hands to make sure we were all on the same page. And then, Riley, should Denver have went full fire sale? They stayed put. They didn't move Patrick Surtain. They didn't move Cortland Sutton. They didn't move Jerry Jeudy. Should they have, or was it a good idea to stay put, stay firm, and try to win some football games?
I think they should have had a fire sale, and I think that the win over Kansas City kind of skewed that from happening. I think if they lose against Kansas City, they're definitely were selling everyone today.
Flamethrower that bitch.
Yes. But the other half of it, too, is I wonder what kind of offers they were getting for guys like Jerry Jeudy.
I would assume like a 5th or a 6th round pick. I don't assume a lot.
Really?
For Jerry Jeudy?
I mean, show
Sutton.
me where he showed he can play great football. He could be a solid number 2 somewhere, but I'm not giving you a 3rd round, 4th round pick.
To Steve Smith.
Exactly. I would not have. I wouldn't give you more than a 5th. I wouldn't give you more than a 6th. Like if they were offering him to the Vikings and they said we want a 4th or a 5th, I'd tell you no.
What about Patrick Surtain? What do you think he would?
I would give up a 2nd round pick in a heartbeat. Maybe a 1st if a pick came like a 1st for a 3rd in Surtain type situation. But like I would give up a 2nd for that kid. He's good. He's a cornerstone. My thing with trading for corners, though, is you don't, to win a Super Bowl or even be in a Super Bowl, you don't need great corners. You just need good corners. You need corners that aren't going to fuck you over. Like the Bengals made a corner with their best cornerback being Eli Apple. They made the Super Bowl. He just did enough not to get burnt every play. So
yeah.
I don't think having a stud corner, I think you have to be good and deep there, but you do not have to be legendary to win. So that's my personal opinion. But Kuhn, can the Rams survive if Stafford misses, let's say, 2 to 4 games? Can they stay in the playoff hunt? Can they claw out of it if they do? Like, what's the if Stafford's going to miss a few games here with his thumb? What are the odds that they make their way into a playoff spot?
Very little.
Okay.
I don't see them going very far without Stafford. I mean, honestly, with Stafford, they're already not playing great football. But I mean, we saw it last year how Stafford was, or how the Rams were without Stafford, and it wasn't very pretty.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So.
And then last one, we're gonna do another show of hands. Is Jimmy Garoppolo a cooked goose? Show your hands. That's another 4-0, baby. I think we all can agree Jimmy Garoppolo is cooked. The Raiders made a huge mistake by paying him. I think the biggest quarterback mistake of the offseason was him, followed by Daniel Jones being paid by the Giants. But I think he takes the cake at number 1.
Don't hate too much on Daniel Jones, man. He's not a bad quarterback. He just has him and Saquon Barkley are probably the only 2 decent players on that team.
I mean, I wouldn't fully disagree with you about the offense.
O-line is trash.
Darren Waller's a pretty good tight end.
He's a pretty good tight end.
I would put him in the top 10 tight ends for sure.
Yeah, but he's not 1 through 9. In my opinion.
I would put him at like 6 to 8 somewhere in there.
I'd put him
just outside the top 5.
I'd put our rookie Jake Ferguson over him.
No,
over Darren Waller.
No chance.
Absolutely.
You are currently smoking meth.
Do you guys think the Raiders would have been better off keeping Derek Carr?
Yes, without
absolutely.
a doubt.
Yep.
I think the Raiders would have been better off not hiring their head coach.
Yeah, Josh
McDaniels.
Josh McDaniels is the worst thing that ever happened to him. Worst thing that ever happened to them was
For those of you who don't know at home, we've done this before, but the Raiders cannot afford to fire Josh McDaniel right now because they don't have the cash flow. They moved states, obviously, as everybody knows. They went from from Oakland to Las Vegas. And in that move, they gave up their cash, their actual in-hand cash. So they have assets, which make them a, very successful business, but they do not have liquidated assets. And they owe Josh McDaniels a ton of money. So to fire him, they would have to hand him a check for that money, which they do not have.
Yeah.
So they are stuck with him until further notice.
That's so sad, man. Honestly, if I had to pick my number 2 team, it would probably be the Raiders. I really love the Raiders. But
I don't feel about the Raiders at all. No love lost there. No love gained.
They screwed themselves. I'm enjoying it.
Yep. With that, does anybody have
Jacobs.
anything from the midway point, free agency frenzy, or just anything they want to talk about before we close the show out this week? Once, twice, 3 times, sold. Thank you all for joining us. We'll be back next week.
Are we not doing the power rankings?
Oh, we did for it. Thank
you.
you.
Top 10s,
Thank
bro.
you.
Yeah,
oh
you
my
did not.
God, we didn't even do the power rankings.
Wow.
We were talking about this before the episode. How you were hyping it up.
I blew right through it.
Hurry up.
It's on the schedule right here, and I blew right through it. Oh my God, thank you. Oh my God, the host is an idiot for this show. You should do fucking. Yeah.
I've done that for years.
Yeah, exactly. Jesus. All right. Well, I have it up right here. I would have looked to my left immediately after the show and had been like, mother. All right. So
That's actually hilarious.
we are going to pull up the top 10 here for everybody listening at home. We'll spend 5 or so minutes talking about the top 10 real quick. We have the Bills at number 10. We have the 49ers at 9, dropping 5 spots from last week. We have the Seattle Seahawks making their season debut, coming up to number 8. And then just above them, we have the Detroit Lions going from 9, jumping 2 spots. And then we have the Kansas City Chiefs in an epic fall from grace, falling 5 spots from the last week's number 1 spot. Then at 5, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars jumping 1 spot. We have at 4, the Dallas Cowboys jumping 4 spots conveniently, as well as the Dolphins at 3, jumping 4 spots. Then the top 2 are the Eagles, jumping from 5 last week up to 2. And then the Baltimore Ravens jumping from 2 to 1 this week with the Kansas City fall. That is the top 10. And just on the outside, we have the Cleveland Browns looking in. They had an epic fall from grace last week. They were up I believe they were number 3 last week, and they fell all the way out of the top 10.
Hilarious.
Only one person had them in their top 10 this week.
That was you.
And that was I. So I still think they're a good football team. They just, they got beat up by the Niners, and they play a tough game on the road against the Colts, and then they have to travel to Seattle. I don't think it was ever, and they lost on because Seattle got the ball with a minute and a half left off a helmet tip. It was a really close game, and I think Cleveland's still a really good football team. But that being said, this is a group effort. We do things as a team here. So this is our top 10 this week. Does anybody have anything that they are shocked by?
I do have a question. You said you had the Browns in your top 10. Who did you have them over? Because now the
Bills.
The Bills, okay. That's
The
all.
Bills.
How can you have the 2023 MVP at 10? I mean, it is
They're
just
not playing good
unbelievable.
enough, man. They're not playing. They're beating the bad teams, but they're just not playing great football.
If the Niners lose to the Jags 2 weeks
then
from
what
now,
is the difference
are they out
between-
of everybody's
They're out.
top 10?
Absolutely out.
They're out.
What is
What,
the
Riley?
difference? What is the difference between them and the Eagles?
The difference? The
Yes.
Eagles are winning everything.
They have one win against a winning record.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't remember the Bills' record off the top of my head. I can pull it up.
5-3.
Well, I meant
Yes.
who they played.
Oh.
They have. Whoa! I do not want that. Just offered me a gift card, and I was
They
like,
lost
no.
to the Jets, the Jaguars, and the Patriots.
Okay, so you can't lose to the Jets.
Patriots.
You can't lose to the Patriots. The Jags are okay. Jags are an okay loss. That's a tough game. I don't blame the Bills
They
for that.
beat the Dolphins, though.
Yeah, but those are division games.
But look at their
And
wins.
they
only
did lose
have-
to the Patriots,
But
which
are
is
the
another
Jets
division game.
are the Jets and the Patriots not division games?
They are.
They are.
They are.
But
I'm
look
not-
at
that's
the
what I
look
was
at the
just saying.
Bills' wins though.
Over
They
the
only have-
Raiders
Yeah, not a good win. I mean,
and
that's
over
not a
the
good
Giants
team. Not a good
and
team.
the Bucks at
a
home.
decent team.
Like a decent team, but you're at home. You should win that game. Like they beat bad teams and lost to bad teams. They've beat good teams, but they haven't beat good teams. Does that
The only
make
good
sense?
team that I feel like they
Miami-
beat is the
Miami
Dolphins.
is a good team.
That's
No,
the
I-
only good team.
Sorry if I said that backwards. They are losing to bad teams. They are beating bad teams. They are losing to good teams and they are beating good teams. They are up and down. They are not consistent. I will not. The Dolphins have one loss, or the Eagles have one loss, and they have a couple sketchy games against the Commanders. So like, those are iffy. But they won both of those,
They have had. I was really rooting for the Commanders in both those games.
and they also beat the
Of
Dolphins.
course you were.
And they also beat the Dolphins. I believe the Eagles lost. Was it the Eagles lost to the Jets?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So the Jets, good defense. I don't think they should lose that game either. But man, losing to the Patriots really set that Bills team back, in my opinion.
Mhm.
And they should have lost to the Giants. Let's be honest. That was PI in the end zone. They should have lost to the Giants.
Yeah, I agree.
What is it you say? They don't ask how, they ask how many.
That's why I didn't bring it up till now. That's not the backbone of my argument. I'm just saying, like you asked what's the difference between them and the Eagles. The Eagles aren't winning games off referees not making calls or making calls, and they're not losing to teams like the Patriots. That's the difference. The Eagles are winning those games and
They should have
making
lost. I don't know, man. That Dolphins game would have been a much different game if the official.
I do agree with that. That is
That
a
was crazy.
valid argument and a
That was
valid
a
point.
crazy game.
That was a crazy game. Does everybody agree Ravens?
Yeah.
Ravens up in the top.
I had
Definitely
Eagles at one.
Eagles.
Eagles at one. I
I
mean,
had
I
Eagles.
just think the Ravens are like defensively, they're a great team. They struggled early in the season. Like if we're gonna talk about the Bills' struggles, the Ravens struggled too. Like I think they lost to Cleveland, correct? I don't remember.
Yeah,
I believe they lost.
lost.
I know they lost early in the season. They may have even lost to Pittsburgh. I can't remember. Spoon, you got that?
Yeah, I can pull it up right now.
Yeah, if he pulls that up.
They lost to Indianapolis and they lost
Yep.
to Pittsburgh.
That's what it was, the Pittsburgh. So there's a couple bad losses there, but they've been playing so good lately that it's just, I mean, they just whipped up on Detroit 2 weeks ago by 30 points. Like,
Yep.
they are a new team now. The Bills have consistently shown they're up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down.
I mean, we're
And-
talking about good wins. They beat Cleveland 28-3 at
Yeah.
Cleveland.
Yeah.
So
Once again, division games are weird, but it's a good win nonetheless. That's
Yeah.
a fucking confident win. Miami, I mean, Miami's Miami. Like they're just that offense is gonna keep chugging. That defense is giving up 25 points per game though, which is not good at all.
Yeah,
But-
their offense is really just like.
But their offense is putting up over
out-shooting.
33 points a game, so it doesn't matter. Cowboys, they're kind of got punched in the mouth by the Niners a couple weeks ago. They've been playing good since then. Nice
Yep.
steady football. Jags 5-game win streak, so they're chugging hard. KC, tough loss to
just a
Denver,
bad
man.
game, man. Just a bad
Tough loss.
divisional game. You
It's a
know,
Matt Nagy special right there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it was. Also, Pat Mahomes was playing sick. Let's credit where credit's due. Pat Mahomes wasn't healthy. The whole offense suffered because of it. We saw what Kansas City would be without Pat Mahomes, is what we saw on Sunday. That's what they would be without that guy. So Detroit's playing good football, but you can't have them higher than, they can't be in the top 5 after getting just, their pants pulled down and spanked in front of the whole country 2 weeks ago.
yeah, but I mean, it was the Ravens. You know, what I mean, who we have as number one. right
I
now.
agree, but whether it was to the Ravens or to the Bills or to the Cowboys, whoever it was to, you can't be in top 5 after you get embarrassed like that.
true.
And especially they just beat the Raiders, like whoop-de-doo. The Bears beat the Raiders.
That's right.
That's right. It's like, that's right. And then the Hawks, they're coming on strong. They've been on the border of this top 10 list for a lot of the season.
They've been in my top 10 for the last few weeks, but
Yeah, they've been clawing their way up, and they've shown that they're here to play. They're here to stay. Then the Niners obviously making a fall from grace here, 3 straight losses, and then we've already talked about the Bills. Cleveland out on the edge. Nobody had the Cleveland love this week except for this guy right here. I still think they're a top 5 football team in the NFL. Call me crazy.
Imagine if they had
crazy.
Imagine if they had a quarterback. Like,
I mean, if the Jags were playing Cleveland this week, I think it would be, if it was at home, it would be Cleveland -1.
mm,
And if it was at the Jags, it'd be Jags -2.
Yeah.
I think there's a world where they're favored over the Jags, and the Jags are at 5. So that's why I still think they're a top 5 team. But
I do want to say too, 2 weeks in a row, our number 1 team has lost. So I am curious to see how the Ravens do this week with the Seahawks. Are the Seahawks going to keep the trend going or what?
Who was our number 1 last
it's
week?
actually 3 weeks in a row, because 3 weeks ago the Niners lost, and then last week the Chiefs lost.
Yeah, that's what I said. 2 weeks in a row.
Oh, I thought you said my bad.
No. So we'll see if the Ravens can stay at number 1.
Oh, all right. Well, does anybody have anything they want to say about this? Anything else? Any closing comments? Anything that you want to declare before the halfway point of the season ends?
I do have one final question.
Gotcha.
How many more games does Cincinnati have to win before you guys start putting them in the power rankings?
I think if they win this week against the Bills, they're in 10 or 9 for me.
I think
Okay.
if they win this week against the Bills, they're definitely in next week.
Yep.
I couldn't give it to them with the way San Francisco's struggling lately. It's not as impressive of a win as it should be. I definitely expected them to lose, and it's an impressive win. But if they had beat the 49ers 3 weeks ago, they would have jumped automatically into the top 10.
Yeah.
But with San Francisco on the slide, it wasn't enough for me to throw them in over a team like the Bills or the Seahawks or the Lions.
I was close to having them. They're probably like 11 or 12 for me right now. They're on the outside looking in. So if they beat the Bills this week, they're going to be in our top 10.
Alrighty, everybody. Well, thank you all for joining us to the very end of the show. If you stuck around, we appreciate you. We will see you all right here next week. Have a great one, and thank you very much.